Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hi, this is Linda Thompson, your host for The Author Show. In today's featured book, Wonderful Wavicle Work: How to Create Whatever You Need with Unconditional Love, author Rory Goff offers you the secrets of this simple 7-step procedure for enlightening yourself, your Wavicles or thought children, and the world around you. I have to admit he's got me totally lost here, so I definitely want to learn more. Rory, welcome to The Author Show.
Thank you, Linda. It's good to be here.
Rory, please give us a quick overview of Wonderful Wavicle Work: How to Create Whatever You Need with Unconditional Love.
Okay, where to start? This is basically a technique I discovered 33 years ago. It's a technique for disidentifying yourself with whatever you most need and then treating that as your child, giving it whatever it most needs on a very subtle level of infinite love, and then from there integrating all the objections that might come up from all of your other thoughts, the other programming, you could say. And when that's done, your reality shifts. It sounds ridiculous, but it works. It turns out we've been kind of unconsciously creating our own reality all along. And this is a way of kind of taking the reins, as it were, and basically giving thanks for what we've created up until now, because it is beautiful. It may not be perfect, but it's beautiful. And then from there, we can actually change it.
Well, I just have to ask, what in the world does Wavicle mean?
Great question. Wavicle is a physics term. It was invented, I think, in the 20s, and it was invented because physicists discovered that light and virtually all radiation consists of both waves and particles simultaneously. It doesn't make any sense logically or rationally, but essentially what it is something beyond. It's something that contains the properties of both. And what I've been finding is that thought is exactly like that. Thought is essentially radiation, and that just like light, consciousness consists of both a particle, or an eye point, a sense of self, and a wave, a stream of consciousness itself.
Did you write your book with a specific type of reader in mind?
That's a good question. I wrote it for anyone who is relatively happy with their life, relatively sane, balanced, and okay, but really want something more. There's still a feeling of, I want more passion, I want more prosperity, I want better work, I want better relationships, something along those lines. There's some nagging thing that's just not absolutely quite perfect. So yeah, this is written for people who, it's not intended as a substitute for regular psychotherapy or regular healing, but it is a good spiritual technique, essentially. For one of my students called it a shortcut to the divine, and that's a pretty good soundbite.
That is a good soundbite. Your bio says that you awoke your soul while reading ancient Hindu texts. How did they speak to you, and how did they affect your work today?
I was 16 years old and was reading what they call the Upanishads, which are indeed an ancient Hindu text, ancient Vedic text. And what kind of lit me up inside was where it said, you are not your thoughts, you are not your mind, you are not your body, you are not your emotions, you are not anything. And when I was reading that, something just kind of woke up in my forehead. It was like, yes. And it was as if I was suddenly watching myself think and watching myself read the paper. So I wouldn't say that was by any stretch of the meaning. It's a relatively common experience. It's not what I would call ultimate enlightenment, but it was a glimpse of it. And that's what kind of got me started on the path. Once I realized there was something more than just our thoughts, something more than our personality even. There was some kind of, we could call it almost eternal witness behind us, kind of looking through us, enjoying creation through us. That kind of whetted my appetite.
You sound like you've got a wonderful sense of humor. So how would you describe your writing style? Is it humorous?
I like to think so. That would probably be for someone else to say, but when I read it, I laugh. So it definitely tickles me, and it's as if somebody else wrote it. It's, a lot of times I really feel as if it kind of flowed through me. It was sort of basically wholeness speaking through this instrument, essentially, as much as I allowed it to do so. And definitely when I read it, almost as if someone else wrote it, and I find it hysterical. But I don't know if everyone else does. People seem to like it, but that would be for them to say.
You have a disclaimer on your website that starts with, Rory Goff is a spiritual teacher and imparts knowledge and techniques which are spiritual only. Are you separating spirituality from organized religion, or do you view them as one and the same? Will you explain this further?
I will. Thank you. That's a great question. No, actually, I see spirituality as imbuing everything, and that everything actually is an emanation of spirituality. Even physical matter is nothing other than spirituality, or maybe they're both different ways of describing the same wholeness. I basically wrote that disclaimer so that it would not be thought that I was trying to stand in the place of specific specialists in these different fields, especially medicine and psychotherapy and that sort of thing, because I am not claiming specific physical results. I never know what the physical results are going to be. And in effect, I sort of basically say we're not in control of those. We are in control of the finest feeling level, which is, we could call that the spiritual level, the subtlest feeling level only. And that from that inside, all the other flows out to change the outer in accord with that. But how it's going to do that, it's a surprise. So I don't say, for example, if you do this technique, say for prosperity, that you're going to actually end up with $100,000 a week. What seems to happen is that people, when they do this and they integrate all of the objections, they find their needs met. That inner sense of prosperity is just flows out and is fulfilled, but it's almost always in a very surprising way. So that one person might find a trust fund opening up that was coming out of nowhere. Another person might find their ideal work. Another person might find open a chest and find a packet of money in there. You just never know. That's really not up to us to control any of that. That's kind of what we call the Wavicle's job. Our job is to set up the finest feeling level, what we most desire. They then take it and run with it. Essentially, it's a beautiful thing. Our Wavicles and everyone else's Wavicles are intimately connected. So whatever you change on this level, you get the support of every Wavicle in creation. And so miracles happen, but we don't know how they're going to happen, usually. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So what would you say is the ultimate message you want readers of wonderful Wavicle work to remember?
I would like them to remember that they are actually wholeness itself, or you could say that old expression of you're not humans having a spiritual experience, you're spiritual beings having a human experience. I would like them to remember that, and that from that place, we can actually change the human experience to absolutely be heaven on earth.
Rory, is this your first book, or are you planning on writing more?
I am planning on writing more. This is my first published work, yes.
What kind of feedback have you had from readers so far?
They seem to love it. The few that have read it have actually said it's really good stuff.
Can you think of any other book that might be compared with wonderful Wavicle work?
If there were one, I probably wouldn't have written this one. There are some that definitely talk about angles that are covered by wonderful Wavicle work, but I don't know of other one out there that specifically gives an easy technique to actually co-create your universe more consciously. There are other techniques out there that kind of come at it from different angles, but this is the first one I know of.
Without giving away the store and without taking too long to respond, can you give us one tip on how we can actually work through this and become a more enlightened self?
Yeah, I would say buy the book and practice it. It's a specific technique that you can do to essentially love yourself fully and absolutely see yourself as wholeness or God sees you, which is infinitely loving, unconditionally loving. And from that place, learn to see how easy it is to remove the blockage, to let that divine grace flow through you, or that wholeness to flow through you, to create your universe. I don't know if that's really an answer or not, but basically the technique is simply a way to localize your thought. Whenever a thought of I want or I need comes up, that's not you. That's a Wavicle of yours. It's a thought child of yours. And what you give the thought children, how you treat the smallest of these, is how you treat your big self. So remembering that is the first key, and then basically just flooding that thought child with infinite appreciation, infinite love, and saying whatever you need is yours. Welcome home. Welcome home to your perfect heaven on earth. And then integrating all the objections that will come up. And I can pretty much guarantee you there'll be some. It's like, yeah, but this is ridiculous or whatever. And then you have to say, basically localize where that is in the body, breathe it, and then treat that as a little thought child and say, thank you for showing me this skepticism. That too is a part of my wholeness. And I welcome it as a part of my wholeness. And you can keep the benefits and blessings of that skepticism together with infinite understanding simultaneously, or whatever else you most
okay.
need.
Where can we learn more about you, about your work, and most of all, where can we purchase wonderful Wavicle work, how to create whatever you need with unconditional love?
You can learn more about me on my website, which is called waviclework.com. That's WAVICLE, and the WORK.com, Waviclework, all one word. And the book itself is available on Amazon.com, and it's also being globally distributed by Ingram and is available to order at bookstores everywhere.
Rory, you've certainly given us something to think about today. Thank you for visiting with us and for sharing your message from your book. I'm sure you've captured the attention of a lot of people in our audience, and when you release your next book, I hope you'll come back.
Thank you, Linda. That sounds great.
The following is an online review that you know I love to close out shows with. Rory's book reveals secrets of his system for gaining freedom from the tough stuff that we may have thought would be with us for the rest of our lives. It's the quickest way I have experienced liberation, and Rory hands it out conveniently in easy-to-follow steps. Sounds pretty good to me. Please visit theauthorshow.com to listen to other featured authors. These interviews are available to book buyers worldwide on demand every day, 24/7. If you have written a book and would like to be a guest on the show, visit theauthorshow.com, complete the interview request form, and we will contact you shortly thereafter. The Author Show is a great way to market your book by getting in front of your target audience with a high-quality interview that will make a real impact. Join us again for another great book and another exciting author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.